Charlie was fascinated by fortune telling and always wanted to try it out. One day he ended up finding an old woman sitting in the corner of the street. She was dressed up in a violet robe and headscarf. He decided to sit down in front of her and paid his way to get the fortune told. She spontaneously whipped out some tarot cards and told him to choose. Charlie did not understand what any of this meant, but he thought he might as well give it a go. He chose two cards which caught his eyes. She picked up those cards and remained silent for a few moments, until she gazed at him with her mysterious eyes, and with a whispery tune, she spoke. "Oh, you shall beware of the trucks, as they will transport you to another world." He struggled to understand the words and asked her to explain, but she ended up saying nothing. He decided that the fortune-telling was a load of BS in every way possible and angrily left the woman. Later that evening, he on his way back to his house crossed a road while he thought about his shitpost that had gotten loads of upvotes on Reddit. Then suddenly, he noticed his senses picking up the blinding lights and air-bursting sound. Now the question is, what led to the character's death? Who controlled his death? There can be different explanations through which we can analyze who decided his actions, not just his death. In this case, it was the fortune teller who, in disguise of a god or some entity closer to what we perceive as a god, controlled him. It's a shorter reason in comparison to the next one. The other reason is that the fortune teller was pretty freaking good at her job. The prediction was only right because maybe he consciously took the perfect set of actions which led up to those moments. Maybe if he hadn't posted on Reddit and then began to think about it in the middle of the road when a truck was passing by, he might have had lived to see another day. But I guess that's what he get for karma whoring. So, do we really control what we do, or is it something else? Some entity who controls everything? If we just go back to our birth, that is one phenomena which we don't decide. In actuality, that is a big problem because birth decides our ethnicity, country, social class, sexuality, religion, physical appearance, and more. But you could say that it is similar to playing a game where you create your character, but then what happens after is decided through the actions we take. Well, not exactly true, because our ideas are hardwired into us through how we were brought up, so what decisions we take spawns out from the birth itself, unless you on the day of the birth choose to run away from the hospital, or your parents end up dying in a forest, leaving you on your own with a set of apes to look after you. But even then, your surroundings will affect your decisions. Well, maybe once you become independent, then you can make your own decisions without your location and parents controlling you. You can make decisions about which job you want to do. YouTuber. Yes, Dad, I want to be a YouTuber. Maybe choose your own friends and your lover. But wait, that is also to some extent restricted. Your personality develops from a young age. This personality is influenced by two factors mainly, which are temperament and environment. Around 20 to 60% of the temperament is inherited by the genes that pass down. It's good we don't have a temperament of an ape. Oh, wait. So we can say that the personality is not decided by ourselves, as we do not choose our own genetics and the surroundings, which means that you cannot blame yourself or your wife because it was inevitable. Well, it is similar for our friendships and social circle. The combinations of our personality and whoever we encounter leads to who we will spend the time opening a cold one with. Unless your personality doesn't allow social interaction. Self-deprecating humor is the best. So, if the creation of our social circle is not our own doing, then it also means the decisions that spawn out of the interaction with our own surroundings is not completely our own decision. For example, if you have a family to feed, you're probably going to end up doing a job for the sake of money. But if you had the choice, you wouldn't have done that job. Or you could just run away to Antarctica and start a family with the penguins. At least they wouldn't ask for financial support. So this shows most of our decisions are compromises we make because of our surroundings, relations, and survival. Some people argue that the emotions we feel are under our own control. But then why is there an expression in English language that is, I couldn't control my emotions, or my emotions are a mess, or my limbic system between cerebral hemisphere and brainstem has malfunctioned? Because that is the truth. The cognitive and behavioral pattern is created through habitual repetition. Or in other words, we feel emotions because our brain says that action felt good and that action felt bad. So the brain says do more of the action which felt good. And as it is already established that the events and or experiences are set and restricted by genetics, surrounding and birth. Now we cannot control much of what we do, so that means that the lady in the start was a god who made us do the actions according to her prediction. Well, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the lady was Kono Dioda. Okay, I'm sorry, I really wanted to do the JoJo meme. No, but in all respect, we can say it is the combination of the causes and effects that have occurred since the beginning. Now, I'm not talking about the Big Bang because everyone with a big brain just seems to go back to that idea, as I'm neither a scientist nor a historian, so I'll just stick with the idea of birth. All things that have happened in your life or mine since the birth have happened because of the different probabilities in play. So does this mean determinism is what controls us? Is free will some nonsense we created to make us humans feel important, to give us something to latch on and hide from the suffering? Well, actually yes, but no. We do have the ability to make our own decisions, but in a limited fashion. It is like a game in which we can only move our characters to programmed moves. We can make infinite permutation of these moves, but in a restricted fashion, because if we knew that the game was programmed for us to lose, we would never even play it. So if we did have the free will, we would never have had chosen to be born, because life is too much of a fucking hassle. Recently I watched a Netflix show called Japan Sinks 2020, adapted from a novel written in 1973. I mean, in the show, Japan gets hit by a massive earthquake, and then a tsunami, and then Mount Fuji decides to explode, making the life of the characters in plain words miserable. Well, that was a Netflix directed show. What about the world directed show called World Sinks 2020? Great show though, 5 stars, so real that it fucked my life up. We have progressed this far in terms of technology and proudly proclaim that the human race rules the world. But in actuality, the world rules the human race. We can always reduce the impact of disaster, but we still can't control the day the earth explodes or the universe decides to give up on us. Just like my parents. So in this process, you might lose a limb or two, suffer from hunger and thirst, don't get to see your cat, don't get free lollipops, and everyone you love ends up dying. But it's useless to think about such events because it is just gonna hurt your brain. And even if Earth explodes, we wouldn't have enough time to suffer. We're born without a choice into a world in which we also don't have any control over. Now that doesn't mean we need to just cry and moan about how unfair it is, but the only thing we can really do is to accept that we control nothing and that everything controls us instead. And it is a game we play. Of course it is programmed for us to lose, but it is not programmed to make that process just a bad experience, because we can still enjoy the game while we can play it. It encourages us to play that game in the set environment. Fuck's sake. To survive with the in-game resources while having some sorrowful and some happy moments. The game begins with the birth of a new character. It is from where that game becomes part of a strange adventure. This eventful adventure includes the moment you learn the basic in-game mechanics without any beforehand knowledge. The moment you get the hang of these mechanics after all the struggles you come across. The moment you meet another player and become fond of them. The moment you complete an achievement and feel successful. The moment you master the game and feel proud of your existence. The moment when you reach the end of the game and say, it was a good game. This feeling of resolution is portrayed excellently in the end poem of Minecraft, and I would like to read a small part of it. And sometimes the player believed the universe had spoken to it through the sunlight that came through the shuffling leaves of the summer trees. And sometimes the player believed the universe had spoken to it through the light that fell from the crisp night sky of winter, where a fleck of light in the corner of the player's eye might be a star, a million times as massive as the sun, boiling its planets to plasma in order to be visible for a moment to the player. Walking home at the far side of the universe, suddenly smelling food, almost at the familiar door, about to dream again. And sometimes the player believed the universe had spoken to it through the zeros and ones, through the electricity of the world, through the scrolling words on a screen at the end of a dream. And the universe said, "I love you." And the universe said, "You have played the game well." And the universe said, "Everything you need is within you." And the universe said, "You are stronger than you know." And the universe said, "You are the daylight." And the universe said, "You are the night." And the universe said, "The darkness you fight is within you." And the universe said, "The light you seek is within you." And the universe said, "You are not alone." And the universe said, "You are not separate from every other thing." And the universe said, "You are the universe tasting itself, talking to itself, reading its own code." And the universe said, "I love you, because you are love." And the game was over, and the player woke up from the dream. And the player began a new dream. And the player dreamed again, dreamed better. And the player was the universe, and player was love. You are the player.